You may think retirement is years away. However, time flies, and before you know it, it is going to be your turn to retire. When that day comes, you want to be prepared. Otherwise, your golden years will turn into pure hell. Let me help you prepare for that day. An airline pilot recently retired, and on his retirement, he received 10 million shillings as a lump sum payment for his pension. Over the next 6 months, he proceeded on a spending spree and he traveled the world with his wife. And in less than 6 months, he had used up all that 10 million. You might feel sorry for him, but at least he had 10 million to throw away. A lot of people usually end up in retirement with practically nothing. Running out of your savings or not having savings at all in your retirement can be disastrous. You're going to see your living standards plummet. You're going to be forced to live on a fraction on what you used to live on. You'll find yourself eating githeri, not because you're old and not because you no longer have any tastes, but because that is the only thing that you can afford. However, you can prepare for your retirement by first of all thinking about the needs that you're going to have in retirement. Then think about how you're going to invest your savings, and finally, how to properly use that investments that you have accumulated. The reason you do not save for your retirement is because you do not realize how much money you're going to need to live on. You've heard the saying that goes, ignorance is bliss. And I heard a story once where a man went to visit his friend and he was given a bed to sleep on. In the middle of the night, he heard something slithering between the sheets. I can assure you that man spent the night awake and seated on a chair. Another person who would be ignorant of the snake in that room would have slept blissfully. When you are ignorant of the danger that you're facing if you do not save for your retirement, then you'll continue your life blissfully. However, once you have an accurate understanding of the amount of money that you're going to need, then you are going to be motivated to save and invest. One of the reasons that we do not save enough for our retirement is because we have certain misconceptions about that period of our lives. When you're planning for your retirement, you'll come across advice where it will be suggested to you to aim for a 70% income replacement. What that means is that if you make 100,000 shillings per month right now, you should aim to have investments that will generate returns that is going to give you 70,000 shillings per month. That is not going to be accurate. And the reason for that is because at your retirement, you're going to have increased medical needs. You'll want to eat healthy food. You probably want to travel, and you have grandkids that you want to buy gifts for. So rather than your expenses reducing, they are going to increase. The only way that you can properly prepare for your retirement is by doing a projected budget where you think about your needs during your retirement, then come up with a total figure that you can work with. As you're coming up with that projection of your expenses during your retirement, you'll probably start thinking about inflation and wonder how are you going to handle it. And I remember coming across an advertisement for land in Karen during the colonial times, and that piece of land was going for shillings. However, the same piece of land today will probably go for hundreds of millions of shillings, and that is an effect of inflation. It is just the general increase in prices, and over a long period of time, that increase can be a huge amount. My advice to you is that as you're planning about your future expenses, just use the current prices, and as time goes by, you can make adjustments to those projections to become more accurate. The goal of having a realistic view of your expenses and your needs in future is not meant to scare you into inaction. As you're coming up with that list of the expenses that you're going to have, and when you think about inflation, you're likely to feel hopeless. However, you don't need to feel that way. And the reason for this is because with the right investment plan, you can achieve great things over a long period of time. Since it is going to be for the long term, saving and investing for your retirement is going to be easy. One of the most important bodily functions is breathing. However, most of the time you do not need to think about it. It happens normally, it happens automatically. Unless you're having a panic attack, like one of those people in a Michael Jackson concert who hyperventilate and end up passing out. Investing for your retirement needs to be something that you do not think about that happens automatically. You need to integrate it into your spending and then once in a while make adjustments to it. One of the things that will make saving and investing for your retirement easy is if you start early. The earlier you start, the more money you're going to have at the end of it. When you have a test, you have two options for how you're going to study for it. Either you could study in bits over a long period of time where you internalize the material and you're more likely to pass that test. On the other hand, you could try and cram everything in the last minute the night before the exam. You do not understand what you're reading and you end up failing that exam. Saving and investing for your retirement is not something that you can do last minute. If you try to do that, you end up investing in ventures that end up failing. However, if you do it in bits over a long period of time, you'll find that it is easy and you'll find that your money is going to grow into a huge amount. The earlier you start, the more easy it is going to be for you to achieve your goals. The longer you take and the longer you delay to start on saving and investing for your retirement, the less likely you are to achieve that goal. Another thing that will make investing for your retirement easy is that you will only need to take low risks. During the crash of Bitcoin a few months ago, I came across a story of a woman who had retired. She took all her retirement savings and invested them in Bitcoin and ended up losing all of it. This is not unusual. It is not unusual for people in their retirement to try and start businesses that they do not understand, to get into investments that they do not understand, and they end up losing all that money. As you head to your retirement, it is not time for you to get rich. It is time for you to be safe, and you therefore need to concentrate on safe investments like government bonds. As you get closer to your retirement, you need to move all the money from your risky investments to safer ones. When you make sure that you are not taking on too much risks, and when you start saving and investing for your retirement early, you'll find that it is not only easy, but it is also second nature to you. It is not something that you keep thinking about. By using these seemingly boring techniques to invest for your retirement, you'll find that you have a huge amount of money at the end. That being said, if you are not careful, you can spend all this money that you've saved up in a very short period of time. Your goal when you retire is to make sure that your money lasts as long as possible. Your goal when you go into retirement is to make sure that the money that you've saved up lasts you as long as possible. 70% of the people who win lotteries end up broke, and half of that number actually end up worse than they started off because they take on debts and they are declared bankrupt. There is no amount of money that is too great for you to deplete, and so as you go into your retirement, you need to have a clear idea of how you're going to spend that money. First of all, do not spend your capital, and second, make sure that you always budget. Imagine you have a herd of cattle that you want to sustain you. If that herd births 12 calves in a year, then you would only consume 12 or less cattle. If you consume more, then you'll end up depleting your herd. It is the same with your investments. If your investments gives you a certain amount of money as a return, then you will live on just that return. If you start consuming more than that, over time, your capital is going to be depleted. The way that you keep yourself from consuming your capital is by carefully budgeting and monitoring your spending. One of the goals you probably have for your retirement is to travel the world. However, it can be quite expensive. Let's say you decide to travel to Europe, eat good food, stay at expensive hotels. You can very easily go through tens of millions of shillings in a short period of time. Therefore, when you are dependent on your investments, you need to carefully monitor your spending. And this is not a habit that you can just develop overnight. You need to start today. If you are not budgeting, you need to start developing that budgeting habit so that when you retire and when you need that habit the most, you are going to have it. When you run out of money in your retirement, that is it. There are very few options for you to make more money, and your health might prevent you. And so you need to be very careful about how you spend it. First of all, never touch your capital, and second, make sure that you budget for every cent that you receive. However, there is no need for you to panic. With these tips that I've just shared, you are going to be able to live your golden years very comfortably. Based on all this information that I've shared, you can be sure that you will maintain your lifestyle in retirement. First of all, have an accurate idea of the kind of expenses that you're going to have in future. Second, make saving and investing for your retirement a habit and always manage your risks very carefully. And finally, do not spend your investment capital, only depend on your returns and carefully budget every shilling or cent that you receive. Your retirement is inevitable. It is coming towards you like a train, and one way or the other, you will need to retire, either freely or by force. By taking these steps that I've covered in this episode, you can retire on your own terms. Your golden years will be your best years yet.